Welcome to my channel. Try to hear the latest story.
My dad destroyed my daughter's $2,000 MacBook on her birthday, so I destroyed his life right back. So my dad lifted that MacBook with both hands high above his head and slammed it down on the floor with everything he had. The crash echoed through the room as $2,000 worth of laptops shattered into about 50 pieces. Screen cracked completely. Keyboard flew off and bounced across the hardwood. Fragments scattered everywhere like some kind of twisted confetti at the world's worst party. The MacBook I'd spent weeks researching and picking out for my daughter's 14th birthday was now just expensive garbage scattered across my living room floor. And you know what my dad said after that little display of destruction? This is punishment for being selfish. Yeah, he destroyed my daughter's birthday gift, traumatized her in front of all her friends, and had the audacity to call her selfish. That's the kind of family I'm dealing with here. That's the kind of people I'd spent my entire life trying to please and accommodate. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me back up and explain how we got to this point, because this story is about way more than just a destroyed laptop. This is about decades of favoritism, years of disrespect, and me finally reaching my absolute limit after putting up with their nonsense for far too long. I'm Daniel, 45 years old, single dad to the best kid on the planet. My wife Sarah died in May 2022 in a highway accident that came out of nowhere. One minute she's driving home from work on a Tuesday afternoon. The next minute I'm getting a call from the hospital that changed everything forever. She was gone before I even got there. Didn't get to say goodbye, didn't get any warning, just suddenly widowed with a 12-year-old daughter to raise alone. Just like that, Mia and I went from being a happy family of 3 to a family of 2, trying to figure out how to keep going. I'm not gonna lie, those first few months after Sarah died were the hardest thing I've ever been through. Real rough. The kind of rough where you're just trying to make it through each day without completely falling apart. But Mia needed me to keep it together, so I did. I became dad and mom and friend and therapist, and whatever else she needed at any given moment. We figured it out day by day, hour by hour sometimes. Some days were harder than others, but we made it work through sheer determination. The two of us against the world, you know? We had each other's backs no matter what. Now here's where my parents and my brother come into the picture. And trust me, this is where the story gets really good. You'd think they'd step up after my wife died, right? Help out with Mia? Be there for us emotionally and practically, that kind of thing? Yeah, not so much. Not even close. See, my parents had a favorite grandchild. And spoiler alert, it wasn't Mia. It was never Mia. It had never been Mia since the day my nephew was born. My brother Alex has a son named Mason, who's about Mia's age. And this kid has been spoiled absolutely rotten since the day he was born 14 years ago. My parents treat him like he's the second coming of Christ, while Mia might as well be a ghost haunting their peripheral vision. I'm talking extreme favoritism here. The kind that's so obvious, it makes you physically uncomfortable to witness. The kind that makes you wonder if they even remember Mia exists half the time. Or if they remember and just don't care. Let me give you some specific examples so you understand just how bad this situation was. Because words alone don't really capture the depth of their selective blindness when it came to my daughter. When my wife died, my parents came over to our house exactly twice in the first month. Twice. Count them. They brought a lukewarm casserole the first time that tasted like cardboard, and some basic groceries the second time, then basically disappeared from our lives, like they'd never had a granddaughter who just lost her mother. Meanwhile, they were at Alex's place 3 times a week minimum, like it was their second home. I'd see their car in his driveway all the time when I drove past on my way home from work. When I finally worked up the nerve to ask why they couldn't help out more with Mia during the hardest time of our lives, my dad actually said they didn't want to intrude on our grieving process. Intrude. That was the word he used. Like their own granddaughter didn't desperately need her grandparents around after losing her mom. Like showing up and being there for a traumatized 12-year-old would somehow be an imposition on us. Last year, Mason got $2,000 cash for private tutoring, because he was struggling in school. My parents just handed Alex a check like it was nothing, like money grew on trees in their backyard. When I casually mentioned that Mia could really use some help with her advanced coding classes that she was teaching herself, my mom said they'd already spent their extra money for the year and couldn't afford anything else. Funny how there's always money in the budget for Mason, but never a single cent for Mia. The well runs dry real quick when it comes to my daughter. The summer before this birthday disaster, my parents took Mason to Hawaii for 2 full weeks. Flights, nice hotels, activities, tours, the whole vacation experience. They probably dropped 5 grand easy on that trip, maybe more. Mia stayed home with me. We had a nice summer, don't get me wrong, but it stung watching them post pictures on social media of Mason on the beach, Mason at Luau's, Mason snorkeling. When I asked why they didn't even consider inviting Mia on the trip, my dad said it was supposed to be a small, intimate trip, and they didn't want to overwhelm themselves with too many kids to watch. Too many kids. As if one more would have been such an unbearable burden on their vacation. As if Mia wasn't worth the extra plane ticket. For Mason's birthday that same year, my parents gave Alex $3,000 specifically for throwing a party. $3,000. The kid ended up with a bounce house, a professional DJ, catered food from some fancy place, decorations that looked like they cost more than my monthly mortgage payment. The works. It was basically a wedding reception for a 13-year-old. For Mia's 13th birthday, they showed up 15 minutes late with dollar store gift wrap barely covering whatever random stuff they'd grabbed on their way over. A puzzle that was missing pieces. Some cheap nail polish that was probably expired. A book they'd clearly found in their garage that had my brother's name written inside the cover from when he was a kid. Real thoughtful stuff. Really showed how much they cared. I started keeping a mental tally after a while. Not because I'm petty, but because I needed to know I wasn't crazy. Every Christmas, Mason would get tech gadgets, expensive clothes, sports equipment, gift cards. Mia would get socks, cheap jewelry that turned her skin green, and maybe a Barnes & Noble gift card for $10 if she was lucky. Every holiday followed the same pattern. Every birthday. Every random Tuesday when they felt like being generous to Mason but forgot Mia existed. The comments were almost worse than the actual favoritism. My mom would say things like, well, Mason just needs more right now. Or, boys are more expensive to raise. Or my personal favorite, we're trying to help Alex out since he has it harder. Alex is a project manager making 6 figures. I'm a single dad making decent money but supporting a household alone after losing my wife. But sure, Mom, Alex has it harder. Every single time I brought up the blatant favoritism, and I mean every single time, they'd hit me with the same scripted garbage responses. We treat them equally. You're being too sensitive. Stop keeping score. You always make everything about you. Classic gaslighting. They knew exactly what they were doing. They just didn't want to admit it out loud because that would require acknowledging they were playing favorites with their grandchildren. And grandparents aren't supposed to do that. Alex and his wife Emily were honestly no better than my parents. Maybe even worse in some ways. They never got Mia gifts worth more than $20 for any occasion, but they expected me to go all out for Mason every single time. Emily would actually get offended and pissy if I didn't spend what she considered enough on her precious son. At Christmas 2 years ago, I got Mason a $50 gift card to GameStop, which I thought was pretty generous, considering Mia had gotten a $5 coloring book from them the year before. Emily pulled me aside during dinner and had the nerve to complain that a gift card wasn't personal enough and showed that I didn't really know Mason, this woman who'd given my daughter a coloring book. A coloring book. For a 12-year-old. The math wasn't mathing, as the kids say nowadays. The double standards were suffocating. Mason would break something at our house, and it was, boys will be boys. Mia would accidentally spill something at a family dinner, and she'd get a lecture about being more careful. Mason failed 2 classes last semester, and it was, he's going through a tough time. School isn't for everyone. Mia got a single B on her report card, and my mom asked if she was having trouble focusing. The goalposts moved depending on which kid we were talking about. The thing is, I put up with all of this nonsense for years and years. Decades, really, if you count back to when Alex and I were kids, and the favoritism started with us before moving on to the next generation. I told myself it didn't matter, that Mia didn't need their validation to be successful and happy, that we were doing perfectly fine on our own without them. And we were doing fine. We had each other. We had our little routines, our inside jokes, our movie nights. We didn't need them. But I'd be lying if I said watching my daughter get treated like a second-class citizen in her own family didn't eat at me more than I wanted to admit. It gnawed at me constantly. This low-grade anger that I'd gotten really good at pushing down and ignoring for the sake of keeping the peace. I kept telling myself that being the bigger person meant not making waves, meant accepting that some people just suck at being fair, meant protecting Mia from seeing how much their treatment bothered me. I thought I was doing the right thing by keeping my mouth shut and just being there for Mia in all the ways they weren't. But looking back now, I realize I should have drawn the line in the sand way earlier. Should have cut them off the first time they made Mia feel less than. Should have protected her from their toxic favoritism instead of making excuses for it. But that was all about to change, because Mia's 14th birthday was approaching, and I wanted to do something really special for her. Something that showed her that at least one person in this family saw her true worth and potential. She's crazy passionate about computers and programming, has been since she was about 10 years old. Taught herself basic coding from YouTube videos and online forums. Built her first simple website at 11. Created a functional app at 12. The kid's seriously talented, like potentially genius-level talented. She's always talking about building apps and websites and learning new programming languages. She has this dream of working for a major tech company someday, or maybe starting her own company. The passion in her eyes when she talks about technology is the same passion her mom had when she talked about art. It's beautiful to see. So I decided to get her something that would actually support and nurture that passion. I started researching laptops, reading reviews, watching comparison videos, asking tech guys at work what they'd recommend. I wanted the best tool I could afford to help her pursue her dreams. After weeks of research, I settled on a brand new MacBook Pro. Not the cheapest base model either. The one with enough processing power and memory to run all the development software she wanted to learn. The one that would last her through high school and into college. Cost me just over $2,000, which, yeah, is a lot of money. That's more than I'd ever spent on a single gift for anyone. But my daughter deserved it. She'd been through enough losing her mom, dealing with a family that barely acknowledged her existence, watching her cousin get everything handed to him on a silver platter while she got table scraps. I wanted her to have something that showed her that at least her dad saw her, valued her, believed in her potential. I didn't tell anyone what I was getting her, kept it a complete secret. I picked it up from the store 3 days before her birthday and hid it in my office closet. Then I spent an entire evening wrapping it in multiple layers of different colored paper with ribbons and bows because I wanted to make the unwrapping part of the experience. Wanted to build up that anticipation, make the moment as special as possible. The look on her face when she finally got to that MacBook box was going to be worth every penny I spent and every minute I spent wrapping it. The party was set for 6 p.m. on Saturday, 2 days ago, as I'm writing this. We invited about a dozen people. My parents, Alex and his family, including Mason and Emily, a couple of our closest neighbors who'd been really supportive after Sarah died, and about 5 of Mia's friends from school. Nothing fancy or over the top, just cake and snacks and sodas, some decorations, music playing in the background. Standard birthday party stuff. I wanted it to be about Mia, about celebrating her, about her friends, and the people who actually cared about her having a good time together. Everything started out fine. People showed up on time. Everyone sang happy birthday. Mia blew out her candles looking genuinely happy. For a minute there, I actually thought this might be a normal family gathering. Shows what I know. Around 7 p.m., we got to the present opening part. Mia sat in the middle of the living room surrounded by wrapped gifts. She opened them one by one, thanking everyone. Books, makeup sets, some tech gadgets from her friends. All good stuff. She was smiling the whole time. Then she looked at me. "Dad, aren't you giving me anything?" I smiled. "Of course, just wait here." I went to my office and grabbed the gift box. Soon as I walked back into the living room with this big wrapped box, people started whispering. My neighbor, Mr. Johnson, nudged his wife and said something I couldn't hear. Everyone was curious. Good. I wanted this to be memorable. I handed Mia the box. Her eyes went wide. "Dad, this is huge. What is it?" "Open it and find out." She started carefully unwrapping it, taking her time with each layer like she always does. Reminds me of her mom. Sarah was the same way, always so careful and thoughtful about everything. Watching Mia in that moment, I felt this surge of pride. This was going to be perfect. Except it wasn't. Right as Mia got through the outer layer of wrapping paper, the unthinkable happened. Mason, that spoiled little punk, stepped forward from behind her and just grabbed the box right out of her hands with zero hesitation. Not a polite, "Can I help?" Not an "excuse me." Just straight up snatched it like he had every right to it. "Let me open it," he announced, already tearing into the carefully wrapped layers like some kind of starving animal going after meat. I opened my mouth to tell him to stop, to give it back. But this kid was practiced. He'd clearly spent his entire life ripping open presents without permission, because he moved with the efficiency of someone who'd done this 1,000 times. 10 seconds flat, and he'd destroyed all the wrapping I'd spent 20 minutes carefully arranging. Paper flew everywhere. Ribbons scattered across the floor. He ripped through layer after layer, with absolutely no regard for anyone else in the room, his hands moving so fast they were almost a blur. The room had gone completely silent, except for the sound of tearing paper. Nobody moved. Nobody said anything. We were all frozen in shock at the audacity of what we were witnessing. Even Mia's friends had stopped recording. their phones lowered, mouths hanging open. Mason finally got to the MacBook box, and his eyes went wide when he saw what it was. He pulled it out of the wrapping, held it up over his head with both hands like he'd just won some kind of championship trophy, and literally shouted at the top of his lungs, "The MacBook's mine now!" Not, "Wow, cool gift for Mia." Not, "Sorry, I got excited." Just a declaration of ownership, like he'd earned it somehow, like it belonged to him by divine right. Then, and this is the part that still makes my blood boil when I think about it, he walked straight over to where Alex and Emily were standing on the other side of the room. Walked right past Mia, who was sitting there on the floor looking shell-shocked. Walked past me. Didn't even glance in our direction. He went straight to his parents, still holding that MacBook box up high, looking proud as hell, like he'd just accomplished something praiseworthy instead of stealing his cousin's birthday gift in front of a room full of witnesses. And here's the part that made me realize just how deep this rabbit hole went. The part that showed me this wasn't just Mason being an impulsive, spoiled kid. My parents started laughing. Not uncomfortable, nervous laughter, like they were trying to diffuse an awkward situation or cover for him. Not embarrassed laughter. Full-on delighted, genuine, happy laughter. The kind of laughter you hear at comedy shows or when someone tells a really good joke. They thought this was hilarious. They thought watching their grandson steal their granddaughter's birthday gift was entertainment. My dad walked over and patted Mason's head. "My grandson's so good at opening gifts." My mom jumped in. "Mason's so clever. This reward rightfully belongs to you." Alex and Emily hugged their kid, looking proud as hell, like he'd just accomplished something worth celebrating instead of stealing a gift from his cousin. I looked at Mia. She was crying, tears running down her face. Her birthday, her gift, her moment, all stolen right in front of everyone. At her own party, in her own house. Something in me snapped. I walked over to where they were all standing. "Mason, give the MacBook back to Mia. Right now." The kid backed up behind his parents. "No, it's mine. Grandma and Grandpa said if I opened it first, I get to keep it." That's when I realized this wasn't just Mason being a spoiled brat. This was planned. They'd set this up beforehand. Told Mason to steal the gift and they'd back him up. The calculation behind it made my stomach turn. I stepped forward and grabbed the MacBook from Mason's hands. "This is a gift I bought for my daughter. You want a laptop? Ask your mom and dad." Mason tried to hold on to it, his face getting red. Alex immediately stepped in and pulled my hands away. "You can't fight with a child like this." "But that's a MacBook I bought for my daughter," I said, keeping my voice level. "Do you understand that?" Emily jumped in then. "Come on, it's just a MacBook. Buy Mason something else. Give this one to him." That did it. "Are you crazy, Emily? Have you ever given my daughter a gift worth over $100? Her face went red. "Why do you always bring up money?" "The problem isn't money," I said, looking straight at her. "The problem is you're always stingy with my daughter. There's no reason I should be generous with your son." Emily opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Alex looked furious but helpless. Some of the neighbors were starting to speak up too. Mr. Johnson, this older guy who lives next door, said sternly, "I've never seen anything like this. This is Mia's birthday. You people can't steal her gift like that." Mrs. Miller nodded. "What kind of parenting is this? Letting your kids snatch other people's gifts and being proud of it?" Mia's friends had come over to comfort her. I thought maybe with the neighbors calling them out, Alex and Emily would back down, return the MacBook, end this nightmare. But then my dad decided to make things worse. He stepped forward and faced me. "Daniel, can you give that MacBook to Mason? I'll pay you back." I actually laughed, not a happy laugh, the bitter laugh of someone who just figured out how deep the betrayal goes. My dad wanted to buy back my daughter's birthday gift to give to his favorite grandson. On her birthday. In front of everyone. "You having fun?" Alex asked, clearly annoyed by my reaction. "What are you laughing at?" "I'm laughing at Dad's favoritism," I said. "He has 2 grandchildren, but he only sees Mason." My mom's face went hard. "Daniel, he's your father. You need to respect him." "Fine," I said, my voice calm. "If Dad wants to buy it, the price is $4,000. Alex cut in immediately. "Are you joking? $4,000 for a MacBook? Is it studded with diamonds?" I turned to him. "It's not studded with diamonds. $4,000 is the price for 2 MacBooks. If Dad wants to buy this one to give to your son, then he should buy one for my daughter too. That would be fair. Or has he forgotten Mia's also his granddaughter?" Alex shut his mouth. Had nothing to say to that. I looked at my dad. "I'm right, aren't I? If you want to buy this MacBook, give me $4,000. One for Mason, one for Mia. Fair, right?" My dad's hands clenched into fists. His face went red. "Are you blackmailing me? $4,000? What nonsense." You and Mom have been favoring Mason way too much for way too long, I said, not backing down an inch. I'm just protecting my daughter's rights, something you should have been doing as her grandparents. My mom jumped in with her lecture voice. Daniel, families need to sacrifice for each other. You're almost 45 years old. Why don't you understand that? I turned to look straight at her. Families need to sacrifice for each other? Then let me ask you something, Mom. When my wife died, did you help me more? When Mason got $2,000 for tutoring last year, did Mia get a single cent? When Mason went to Hawaii with you and Dad, Mia stayed home alone. For Mason's birthday, you gave $3,000 for his party. For Mia's birthday, you brought dollar store gifts. The way you're talking, it sounds like my daughter and I are the ones who have to sacrifice while you, Dad, and Alex's family only know how to take. Is that right? My mom looked stunned. She wanted to say something but stayed quiet. The whole room went silent. You could hear a pin drop. Then my dad shouted, "Enough!" and walked toward Mason with these heavy, angry steps. He grabbed the MacBook from the kid's hands. The whole room held its breath. I actually thought for a second he was going to give it back to Mia and apologize. But no. He lifted that MacBook high above his head with both hands and slammed it straight down onto the floor as hard as he could. The crash was deafening. Screen shattered. Keyboard separated from the body. Pieces scattered everywhere. $2,000 in tiny fragments all over my living room floor. Mia screamed and started sobbing. I mean, really sobbing, her whole body shaking. My dad stood there breathing hard and shouted, "This is punishment for being selfish." That's when I lost it. I rushed forward and grabbed my dad's collar, got right in his face. "What the hell are you doing? Are you insane?" The whole room went dead quiet. I'd raised my fist, ready to deck him right there. I didn't care that he was my father. In that moment, all I cared about was that he'd hurt my daughter and I was going to make him pay. Then Mia grabbed my arm. "Dad, please stop. Please don't hit him." I shouted at her, "Let go. He smashed your MacBook." But she held on tighter, her voice shaking. "Dad, I don't want the police to arrest you. Please stop. Let's call the police instead. Please." Her words were like cold water on my rage. I realized I'd been about to make the biggest mistake of my life. Hitting him would have given them exactly what they wanted. A way to make me the bad guy. Mr. Johnson stepped closer. "Daniel, calm down. Listen to Mia. Calling the police is the right way." He pulled out his phone and dialed 911 without waiting for my permission. Mia pulled my arm away from my dad's collar. My dad straightened his shirt and said through gritted teeth, "You dare try to hit your father? Remember this day." Then he signaled to my mom and Alex's family that they were leaving. Like they were the victims here. Like they hadn't just destroyed my daughter's birthday and her gift. I stepped in front of him. "Stop. The police will be here in a few minutes. You destroyed my property. You have to take responsibility." All 5 of them looked at me with pure hatred. Mr. Johnson spoke up then, his voice gentle but practical. "Let them go, Daniel. You can testify when the police arrive." I thought about it for a few seconds, then stepped aside. They walked out one by one. Not a single apology, not one look of remorse. Mason even turned back and gave me this defiant little smirk before they left. They got in my dad's car. Well, technically my car that I'd been letting him borrow for the past 3 years. As the engine started, I suddenly remembered that detail. I rushed out to the porch. "Wait." My dad stopped and rolled down the window, probably thinking I was going to apologize or beg or something. He looked triumphant. "What's wrong? You realized you were wrong, didn't you?" "Right," I said calmly. I realized I was wrong. His face broke into this satisfied smile. The smile of someone who thinks they just won. I knew it. Admitting you're wrong is good. That's what makes you my son. Go inside. I'll talk to you tomorrow. While he was still wearing that victorious grin, I reached through the car window, turned off the engine, and pulled out the entire set of keys. The smile froze on his face. My mom gasped from the passenger seat. "Daniel, what are you doing?" I looked straight at my dad and smiled. "I was wrong for letting you borrow this car for the past 3 years. From now on, I'm taking it back. This is my car. I have the right to take it back whenever I want." My parents sat there speechless. Behind me, I heard applause. The neighbors who'd followed me out had witnessed the whole thing. Mr. Johnson said loudly, "Well done, Daniel. Make those 2 walk home. Serves them right." My dad jumped out of the car, went to the trunk, and grabbed a hammer he kept there. He stood there gripping it, his face purple with rage. I laughed, actually laughed. "Oh, Dad, what are you planning to do with that hammer? If you hit me with it, you go to jail. And if you smash my car, do you and Mom have enough money to pay for it?" He shouted, "Will you stop that sarcastic tone right now? I'm your father. I looked at him coldly. Wrong. I don't have a father. My father died the exact moment you smashed my daughter's MacBook. I turned around, walked back into the house with the car keys, and left them standing there. Stuck. Humiliated. In front of all my neighbors. To them, they probably thought our relationship ended that night. But to me, that was just the beginning. Because what I was about to do next would make them pay the price they deserved. After they left, I went back inside. The living room was quiet except for the MacBook fragments still scattered on the floor. About 15 minutes later, 2 police officers arrived. One male, one female. They looked at the scene, looked at the broken pieces, and started taking statements. I walked them through everything. Mason grabbing the gift, the confrontation, my dad smashing the laptop. Then I pulled up the security camera footage on my laptop. The whole thing was recorded. Every second. The officers watched in silence. The female officer kept shaking her head. The male officer wrote notes constantly. Mr. Johnson and Mrs. Miller gave sworn statements too. Everything matched the video perfectly. After about an hour of collecting evidence, the police left. They had everything they needed. The neighbors helped me clean up the MacBook pieces. Every shard of glass, every bit of plastic went into a trash bag. Looking at those fragments, I didn't feel bad about the money. I felt heartbroken that my daughter's joy had been shattered along with that machine. After everyone left around 10 p.m., I knocked on Mia's door. When she opened it, her eyes were swollen and red. She'd been crying for hours. But then her face changed when she saw what I was holding. A brand new MacBook, pink, her favorite color. Her eyes went wide. Dad, you didn't need to buy another one. I'm okay. I patted her head. My daughter deserves a MacBook. No one has the right to steal your joy. She burst into tears again, but happy tears this time. Holding her, I promised myself I'd never let anyone hurt her again. And that night, I decided I'd make them all pay. After Mia fell asleep around midnight, emotionally exhausted from the worst birthday of her life, I sat alone in my office with just the glow of my computer screen for company. I couldn't sleep. My mind was racing. I kept replaying everything that had happened, watching the security footage over and over again. Mia's face when Mason grabbed the gift, her tears when the MacBook shattered, my parents laughing like it was all some big joke, their family walking away without a single word of apology. Each frame made me angrier, but it was a cold anger now. Calculated. I knew exactly what I needed to do. I decided right then that I was going to post that video on social media. The whole 10-minute uncut version from my security camera that captured everything in crystal clear high definition. I hesitated for maybe 30 seconds, not because I felt guilty, but because I wanted to make absolutely sure this was the right move. The video involved Mason, and he was technically a minor. But after thinking it through logically, I realized that everyone in our extended family and social circles needed to see the truth, needed to know what had really happened. They needed to see the real faces of people who'd been playing the perfect family for decades while treating my daughter like garbage behind closed doors. As for Mason, the kid needed to learn an important life lesson that his parents had clearly failed to teach him over 14 years. Actions have consequences. You can't just steal people's property and have your family back you up and expect no repercussions. Real world doesn't work that way. I uploaded the video to my personal Facebook page, all 10 minutes and change. I added a caption that I'd been thinking about for the past hour, keeping it short and meaningful. Toxic family. From today on, my family is just Mia and me. Watch this if you want to know why I'm done with people who call themselves family, but act like strangers. Then I hit post, shut down the computer without waiting to see any reactions, turned off my phone, and somehow managed to fall asleep around 2 a.m. The next morning when I woke up around 7:30 and turned my phone back on, I was completely overwhelmed by what I saw. My phone practically had a seizure from all the notifications flooding in at once. Text messages, missed calls, Facebook notifications, Instagram messages, emails, everything hitting all at once. The video had gone absolutely nuclear overnight. Viral doesn't even begin to describe what had happened. When I finally managed to open Facebook, my hands were actually shaking. The video had been shared over 300 times. 300. By relatives, by friends of friends, by complete strangers who'd seen it secondhand. It had hundreds and hundreds of comments, way more than anything I'd ever posted in my life. And here's what shocked me most. Every single comment I scrolled through was on Mia's side and my side. Not one person defended my parents or Alex's family. Not one. My mom's cousin Rita, who I hadn't talked to in probably 5 years, wrote a long comment that started with, "I'm shaking with anger right now. I can't believe this. Is this really how Thomas and Patricia treat their motherless granddaughter?" This is disgusting and heartbreaking. That poor child. Daniel, you did the right thing cutting them off. Family like this is worse than no family at all. One of my dad's old Marine buddies from way back, a guy named Frank who'd known my dad for 50 plus years, commented, "Thomas, I've known you since we were 22 years old serving together. I never, and I mean never, thought you were capable of doing something this cruel to your own granddaughter. This ain't the man I thought I knew. Shame on you. Shame on all of you." Coming from a Marine who'd served with my dad, that comment hit different. Complete strangers were finding the video through shares and leaving comments calling for my dad to be arrested, sued, charged with destruction of property, child abuse, you name it. Someone wrote, "A grandfather smashing his granddaughter's birthday gift while she cries. He should be in prison. This is psychological abuse at minimum." Another stranger commented, "These are the worst grandparents I've ever seen in my life, and I work in family court." People were tagging Alex and Emily in comments, calling them failures as parents, saying they'd raised a thief and a brat, asking how they sleep at night knowing they enable this behavior. Emily's Facebook profile picture had dozens of comments under it, just from that one night. Alex's LinkedIn had people leaving reviews about his character. It was spreading beyond just Facebook into every corner of their online presence. The video had even jumped platforms. Someone had downloaded it and posted it on Twitter, where it got another wave of attention. Someone else put it on TikTok, where it was getting viewed by people who didn't even know us. Local community groups were sharing it. Parents groups were using it as an example of toxic family dynamics. It had taken on a life of its own. And seeing all of that support, especially from relatives who'd always known about the favoritism but never said anything before, I felt vindicated. They'd all seen it. They all knew now. There was no more hiding, no more making excuses, no more pretending my parents treated both grandkids equally. The truth was out there in high-definition video for everyone to see. Around 10 a.m., my phone rang. Alex's name on the screen. I answered. "You jerk! How dare you put us on social media? My wife and I are about to lose our jobs. Colleagues are whispering. Relatives have been calling to curse us out all morning. It's all your fault." "Get lost," I said, then hung up and blocked his number. 10 minutes later, my dad called. "You're a monster. No one puts their own family on social media to shame them. God will punish you." "No," I replied. "Grandfathers don't smash their granddaughter's MacBook either. If you can dish it out, you better be able to take it. God will send you to hell when you die." "What did you just say to me?" he asked, gritting his teeth. "Are you deaf, old man? Go get your ears checked." I hung up and blocked his number too. Then my mom's number. Then Emily's. Cut them all off. That afternoon, I contacted a law firm. The lawyer was named Robert, a middle-aged guy with decades of experience. After I showed him the video and explained everything, he nodded. "This is pretty clear-cut," he said. "Video evidence, witnesses, police report. We can definitely win this." I asked about the timeline. He said with evidence this strong, we could push for a quick trial. "I want to move as fast as possible," I told him. "Money isn't an issue. I want them to understand that actions have consequences." Robert looked at me with understanding. "This isn't just about the MacBook. This is about justice for your daughter. Let's get to work." 1 month later, we were in court. The trial moved quickly because the evidence was overwhelming. The video played on the courtroom screen. Everyone fell silent watching my dad destroy that laptop. Mia's cries from the video echoed through the room. Some people turned away. My dad's lawyer tried saying it was done in anger without intent. Robert countered that my dad had actively grabbed the MacBook, lifted it high, and slammed it down hard. That was clearly intentional. The judge delivered the verdict. My dad had to compensate for the full value of the MacBook plus emotional distress fees for Mia. Total compensation exceeded $25,000. When the judge finished reading the verdict, I looked at Mia. She sat there calm, neither happy nor sad. For her, the money didn't matter. What mattered was justice. But the story didn't end there. Following Robert's suggestion, the court also issued a restraining order. My parents and Alex's family were banned from coming near our house, Mia's school, or any other places we regularly went. The order was effective for life. Any violation meant criminal prosecution. As we left the courtroom, we walked past where my parents and Alex's family were standing. They looked at me with hatred, but didn't dare say anything. The restraining order was already in effect. I held Mia's hand and walked straight toward the exit. Didn't look back once. That chapter of my life was closed. The people who'd once been family were now just strangers. And the law made sure they could never hurt my daughter again. That was 2 years ago. Today, Mia's 16. She's grown so much. Still passionate about computers. still dreams of being a software engineer. That pink MacBook I gave her that night, she uses it every day. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel and help us bring you more and better stories. Thanks.